Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Junaid and I'm a graduate data analyst, senior data analyst working for a financial services firm in central London. I want to make a video about 3 things I wish I'd known before becoming a data analyst. 3 things that would have been nice to know, 3 things I wish I'd known before becoming a data analyst. Without any further ado, let's get straight into it. Number 1, which could quite easily turn into a rant, is that you're going to spend a lot of time cleaning data. Now, I've done a lot of work with data at university, data sets at university, even during internships. For example, I was investment banking analyst intern at UBS, and all the data I'd worked with previously didn't have any discrepancies or missing values or inaccuracies like real life data does. And so when I got into my job, I didn't have those skills to be able to clean data effectively until I learned them off the senior analysts. It's the same with universities and boot camps. The data you're working with, unless a boot camp has a module specifically dedicated to data cleaning, boot camps and universities, the data you tend to work with is largely clean and easy to work with. Whereas in real life, especially within the financial side of things, there are so many inaccuracies in data. So you do spend a lot of time cleaning that data, whether that be cross-checking data from multiple different sources, even taking a sample size and checking manually in some cases, where the project is not only very large, but it's going to have a very large and overreaching effect. Maybe there's tens of millions of pounds or dollars worth at risk. Then in certain cases, I do actually go in and check manually to make sure that the parameters are right, the calculations are right, and the output essentially is correct. Now, there are specialized subscription databases which provide financial parameters for listed companies. And the way those databases provide those financial parameters is they use an algorithm to go and read a company's financial report and pull out the parameters that they're looking for. These algorithms can be very hit or miss. I've actually mentioned this in previous videos. These algorithms that databases use can be very hit or miss. And over time, I've almost figured out which database is good for what type of parameter, which database will tend to have a complete data set in regards to a specific financial parameter, and which database won't include it or won't be accurate. And so that's where the data cleaning process also goes into the data collation and transformation process as well, just piecing together bits of data and information. One thing I wanted to know before becoming a data analyst is that you'll be cleaning data, a lot of data. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, people are not going to be happy with your numbers or analysis. I've had this personally where so many clients will come to you and push that they want data-driven analysis. They want a dashboard that's going to help them make data-driven decisions. But more often than not, it can be the case that they don't actually want to know what the data is showing. They just want the data to either support what they want the data to show, or they want you to affirm a narrative that they want to pursue. I don't know if that makes sense, but they basically want you to give them the green light that says, yeah, your thinking is correct. This is what the data is showing. Go ahead and implement it. For example, I was talking to an insurance company and they were thinking of introducing a new suite of products, a new suite of insurance products. They'd done some analysis in the past which showed that if they introduced those suite of products, they'd have a marginal increase in their net revenue and profits. And ultimately what they'd be able to do is market those products as tech-enabled, AI-enabled, and that would multiply their EBITDA by a certain multiplier, right? And they wanted me to take all that data, figure out whether introducing that new suite of products was viable, efficient, and essentially whether it was possible for them to launch that suite of products. Now, when I took all that data, I crunched all the numbers.
Ty, I would like you to crunch those numbers again.
They would have to hire 2 separate teams to be able to manage that suite of products. So it would take a larger upfront investment than they were prepared to make. I took into account previous companies and firms and consultancies that had already introduced similar products within their product line. And in all those cases, all the cases that were successful, they hired multiple teams to manage that suite of products, the new suite of products. The regulation for those products was so heavy you needed a separate team to be able to manage those products. And in the cases where they failed, there was no manpower put to use when those new lines of products were introduced. Those case studies previously showed you need to hire at the minimum 2 specialist teams to be able to oversee delivery of those products and implementation. But they weren't prepared to make that initial investment into hiring specialist teams. And I remember them pushing me to say, well, if we do this, if we divert resources from here to here, if we try and make up resources from here, if we launch the products and then 8 months down the line or a year down the line, we then hire one team, maybe that could work. Essentially what they wanted me to give them the green light to say, yeah, go ahead, great, launch that suite of products and multiply your EBITDA, increase your profit, whatever. That's what they wanted. They wanted me to give them the green light. They didn't want to hear what exactly the data was showing, which was that with the current resource that they had, allocation would be damn near impossible, and that suite of products would ultimately fail, which had happened in previous case studies as well. And I've actually had many cases where clients want the data to show a specific outcome, and if it shows different, then you will get pushback where they'll kind of say, well, did you do this correctly, or what if we do this way, or what if we try this way? And there's a process of you having to explaining to them the process you took, explaining to them how you did your best to try and find creative solutions. And essentially the analysis is showing this. There's an aspect of being able to communicate findings to a client who ultimately doesn't want to hear those findings. They want to hear something completely different. And I was actually in an interview where they asked me, it was for a senior data analyst position, they asked me, how would you go about explaining data to a client that shows something they don't want to hear? Or let's say they push back and say, well, I think the data should show this. And that sort of shows how important it is not only to maintain and create your process so well and create that foundation so well that no one can question it, or even if they question it, then you have the right backing and answer and be able to explain your process behind whatever analysis you've conducted. That's another thing I wish I'd known before becoming a data analyst, is that people are not going to be happy with your numbers. They're going to want a certain narrative. They're going to almost want the data to show what they think they want to see. And it's your job to explain to them, well, maybe in some cases it does, but also in some cases it doesn't show what you want it to show. And point number 3, what I'd wish I'd known before becoming a data analyst, and this sort of applies to me, this is one I've been through a lot, is you might be doing work that you don't know about, or something that's completely different from the job description. For example, there was a large project within the organization for a bunch of clients that was going on, and they needed some technical people to come in and help them with the back-end engineering, the data pipeline side of things. So they didn't hire a specialist team, they brought in the data analysts. It was me, at the time I was a junior data analyst, there was a data analyst and a senior data analyst. They brought us 3 in to try and help them. I'm not entirely sure if it was bad project management, or just management or allocation in general, but we joined a morning scrum meeting, and within the first 2 minutes, the scrum master and the project manager told us, okay, you'll be doing this, you'll be doing this, you'll be doing this. Can you get this done by tomorrow afternoon? We sort of sat there with a look on our faces saying, wait, hold on a second. We've got other work to do. I had a project that was due for delivery the day after, and we also had a report we had to deliver collectively to stakeholders. To top it all off, the work that we'd been given, none of us had ever done before. It wasn't really data analyst or even data scientist specific. It was more on the data engineering side of things. So what they'd done is they'd ingested data through a third party, and the hours they'd hired the third party for, those had dried up. And what they wanted us to do was continue ingesting thousands and thousands of files and create a workflow in a tool called I'm, which they wanted us to create a workflow where you could upload a file into a folder, press a hotkey, and the workflow will take the file through a set of ingestion processes and create an output that they'd be able to read. We sat there thinking, wait a second, so we have to go back and learn an entirely new tool. I'm was the tool. Learn how to create the entire process. We had one video to go off of. They'd created one training video to go off. We had to create that entire process. None of us had done that before. That was more on the data. I would say that was more on the data engineering side of things. And I remember the 3 of us had a meeting afterwards thinking, what on earth have they put us into? You need someone specialist. You need a specialist data engineer who's worked with these kind of tools before to be able to do it on such short notice. If we'd have been given 2 months, maybe 3 months, okay, fine, we can understand the tool from the ground up. build up all that knowledge, and then start ingesting files. But for us to be able to ingest, they asked for 50 files or something. For us to be able to ingest 50 files by the end of tomorrow, that was a tough ask. And so that's what I mean by you could be doing work that you don't know, especially if there's a bit of tech involved in your work. It couldn't just be Python, SQL, and Excel and Power BI. At least for me, there's a lot of work that falls outside of the remit of the job description. That last one was funny because we realized there was a bottleneck with how many files we could ingest, and the only person who could actually ingest more files was the third party who created that one training video. They were the only ones who had a key. It was a special key that they needed to be able to ingest batches of files instead of uploading one at a time. We had a limit of 50 files we could upload. And let's say I'm going to pick an arbitrary number. We had a number of 50 files we could upload. They could upload thousands at a time. So batch uploading was their remit, and they had the key to be able to unlock the module that let them upload batch files. And the expectation on us was, because the third party had done that process and shown that process, but they hadn't explained that only they had the key to be able to upload in batches, the expectation on us three was that we'd be able to maintain that level of workflow. We'd essentially be able to ingest the same number of files as the third party, which wasn't the case. And so we had to make sure everyone knew that we weren't able to do that. And that took a while for everyone to understand that there's a special key that unlocks a module that can actually ingest files in batches. Talk about doing work I've never done before. That third party was a specialist firm in Mannheim in Germany, and they actually came to our offices and explained how their system worked. And they had an entire operation running, and the three of us was essentially told to take over their side of the operation, which was tough. Nothing I'd ever done before. And so there's another thing I wish I'd known before becoming a data analyst. I guess there are industries where the work is more siloed, i.e. you're doing work day in, day out that bears resemblance to what you did yesterday or what you did the day after. You're siloed in your remit and the work that you do, maybe. At least in financial services, at least in the role that I'm in, there's a lot more that I've had to do that I had no idea before how to do, and also which wasn't in the job description. Alright, well, there you have it. That's all for this video. 3 things I wish I'd known before becoming a data analyst, and that's you'll be cleaning a lot of data, people are not going to be happy with your numbers, and that you might be doing, or in my case, you will be doing work that you have no idea how to do. I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can book in time for a CV review, a portfolio review, or just a chat in general about how to get your first job within data analytics or finance. That link will be down in the description below. Let me know down in the comments, what are 3 things you wish you'd known before becoming a data analyst? Or what are 3 things you want to know about being a data analyst? And I can perhaps make a video on that as well. If this video was useful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.